irritated by the one you thought you loved. It happens all the time. You lie when you look me in the eye. All I wanted was to hear the truth from you, but you'll never comply.
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. We could be. We might be. It looks like we are. We are live, ladies and gentlemen, here on the I'm No Joe channel for the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like an Eddie Bravo. Today, we're kicking it a little bit old school. We've actually had a pretty slow news week, all things considered. And this weekend, I actually had to go out of town, so I didn't get to do a What Did I Say? I didn't get to do a Joe Luminaries this week, so we're going old school. We're going to kind of wrap it all up in a nice kit and caboodle because the card this week doesn't have a whole lot to talk about either, so I think we'll be able to cram it in. But before we get into that, as is the case most weeks, I have got a beautiful panel of goofy motherfuckers here ready to talk some shit and get into some shenanigans with us here, bringing you your source for all things punchy kicky. First and foremost, we always announce the challenger first, so we're going to welcome this young lad back. Valiant effort, A for effort for showing up again. The challenging interim new guy himself, Mr. RJ MMA official. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good, man. Fucking this weekend's card is mediocre at best.
That's a nice way of putting it. That's a lot nicer than I was going to put it.
You gotta be like somewhat polite. There couldn't be a card at all, So
It's very true. Very true.
But good to be here tonight. Good to see you guys.
Good to have you back, brother. And then across the octagon from this fresh-faced young man is the freshest guest a man could ask for, the current reigning, undefeated, undisputed interim new guy himself, the possessor of the purple band, Mr. Fresh 03. How you doing, brother?
Not bad. RJ tried to ambush me 24/7 title style, but I managed to bang his head with a trash can and make my escape. So, that's bottom line because Fresh 03 said so.
Hell yeah. Glad to have you back, brother. We got some interesting stuff to talk about this week, and I'm glad to have you here for it.
There's a couple good fights on this. Potentially good fights.
There's some definite potential here that we will definitely get into this afternoon. And as is the case more often than not, across the octagon from myself, my Wednesday night homeboy, my combat shit-talking compatriot, the one and only Golf T Vapes himself. How you doing, TJ?
Doing fantastic. Not so thrilled about this weekend. However, I'm pretty thrilled about something today, and I would be remiss to not speak about it. And that is, for anybody who doesn't know, we shall all be shooting a big happy birthday to somebody who is long since passed, one Helio Gracie.
That's right.
One of the founding members of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu family.
That's right.
That trained directly from Japan, brought it to Brazil, and then on to the rest of the world. October 1st, 1919 was his birthday. So happy birthday to him, even though he's passed. And if you guys haven't seen it, go over to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy fucking YouTube page. I forget what their fucking thing is, but they've got a really cool fucking video of Henner and Hedon getting taught by Helio when they were like 4 and 5 years old.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, definite respect to the founder of one of the things that has brought us here today to enjoy the goodness. So, as has been told to me by folks smarter than myself multiple times over, before we get too deep into the fucking craziness, and we will, I need to let you folks know, if this is your cup of tea, you can find us all over the place. We are on basically all social media platforms. We're on Facebook at I'm No Joe. We are on Instagram at I'm No Joe. We are here on YouTube at I'm No Joe. And if understandably these Instagram influencer level faces are just too goddamn distracting for you to take in the knowledge we are feeding forth, fret not, mon ami, we have got you covered there as well. anchor.fm/I'mNoJoe to get this in the all audio format on your podcast consumption platform of choice. And if you really do get your feathers tickled by what we do around here and you want to support the show, patreon.com/I'mNoJoe gives you access to the backstage, the unaired, and even the unairable things that happen here on the I'm No Joe channel. But that being said, holy shit, has it been an interesting week since we talked to you fine folks. Several instances of history have been made. I guess this will be our what did I say portion of the show here. This weekend's UFC 253 card was a fucking glorious thing to behold. If you did not get a chance to partake in the awesomeness that was the first Dubai pay-per-view back on this round 2 back to Abu Dhabi, boys and girls, they were not fucking around. We said it going in, City Kickboxing was showing up to fucking take over, and damned if they did not put up one hell of an effort. Starting right out with the early young man, Mr. Shane Young, set to tee everything up, and then it all went sideways. He looked great. For the split second, he was out there looking great. And then he walked himself right into an absolutely beautiful head kick that ended his evening quite authoritatively. Again, I think this is one of those situations where he doesn't really lose stock. A, it wasn't a full fight. B, he got clipped by a short notice guy that no one had time to prepare for. So there's a lot of asterisks involved in this. So I don't think he really loses stock, but needless to say, it kind of said it, oh shit, what the hell is going to go on with the City Kickboxing mojo going into what was to be their debuting fucking premiere evening.
That could have been Nate Landwehr's head kick.
It absolutely could have. It absolutely could have. And I wouldn't have been nearly as upset or surprised by it had it been Nate Landwehr. That's the kind of crazy shit that he would have thrown in the middle of a fight. So I get it. But props to the young man who made his debut on short notice and landed a beautiful fucking shot to make his statement. I'm very curious to see what that young man's going to do once he gets a little time to train and gets maybe a little bigger name opponent, since that seems to be the name of the game lately. It'd be interesting to see how it plays out. Moving along to the next fight after that, we again, this is one of those situations where if we hit him pretty much down the fucking line, folks. We said right out of the gate, if true to old school fashion, crazy as bat shit, Diego Sanchez showed up in the octagon, it was going to be a problem. But if we just got crazy airplane yoga Diego, it's going to be a bad night. And, well, we got airplane yoga. He was very in his wushu, but not offensively, apparently. And man,
He was offensive.
Yeah, to that canvas with the Picasso that he painted through his forehead via short elbows. There was literally like the size of a small fucking throw rug spot on the canvas from Diego's whole fucking shit getting split open and drained out.
He did a really good job of hiding that from the ref, though.
He really did.
The ref probably would have pulled him with all that blood coming out, but
they probably would have checked him. I agree.
But yeah, he managed to hide it pretty good.
But yeah, needless to say, the Diego that he wanted to show up did not show up, and Mr. Sanchez's record and forehead paid the price for it. So good on you, sir. We kind of thought that's how it was going to go. Matthews is a fucking bad man. Bringing us back to City Kickboxing again. Brad Quake Rydell is a mean motherfucker and very well-rounded motherfucker at that. And he got a chance to show that he is more than just a quick finisher or more than just a flashy guy. He got to show a little bit of everything. And this is another one of those. we were all biting our fucking nails all the way down the line because it was so fucking close. You could not tell going into that judge's decision who won it, but no matter how that card came down from that fight, you could not be mad at the result. Those two gentlemen left everything in that fucking octagon, and you can't be any fucking happier to get a unanimous decision. That is my only issue with this match. The fight itself was fucking spectacular. Again, one of those fights where no one comes away winner or loser having lost any credit. I think both gentlemen actually gained stock in this when we got to see exactly what they're fucking made of. But a unanimous decision?
Yeah.
That was a really, really fucking close fight. This is one that I honestly could have seen going as a unanimous or a split draw more than a unanimous decision, but I don't know. I don't know. It was a great fucking fight, but
Yeah, it was a great fight.
I think unanimous was a little off. I think they're not quite giving enough credit to that gentleman, but you know, props to fucking Quake. We knew he was going to bring it, and he sure the fuck did.
Yeah, Quake looked really, really freaking good, and this is the longest we've seen him stretch out in the UFC. So it was, yeah, it was a great showcase fight for him. Like, dude has no quit in him. So
Fuck no.
yeah, it was great fight. Everybody says wait till Quake. So yeah, I mean, you're starting to see it. You're starting to see him kind of blossom in the octagon. So
Yeah, it was nice to give. They gave a little kind of, and it was real quick in between fights. They gave kind of a little snippet of like the guys talking at City Kickboxing, and they were talking about, you know, most of the core of the team here that were on display have been training with Izzy for 7 years now at City Kickboxing. These guys are going on almost a decade training for the most part. They've all been saying the whole time, wait till Quake gets here for a reason. We're absolutely starting to see that now. Like, he's getting accustomed to the big show. He's getting accustomed to showing out what he's capable of. Yeah. That young man's going to make a big impact in the UFC.
He's got a future.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, I'm not going to refer to the individual personally because I don't believe they deserved any credit or acknowledgement for anything good. What I will say is that despite being a piece of shit, this certain individual also showed up and missed fucking weight to open things out. So as if you didn't have enough reason to not like that motherfucker, he gave you more ammunition right there. Then showed up cocky as shit. That being said, Mean Hakeem didn't really show up Saturday night either. We definitely saw Hakeem Dawodu in the octagon fighting. What we didn't see was Mean Hakeem, who shows up, kicks ass, and takes fucking names. The split decision, I understand, because we've all seen what Hakeem Dawodu is capable of when Mean Hakeem shows up, and that ain't the guy that we got. He absolutely won that fucking fight. There's no disputing that. But I hope that this is the last we see in the lapse of performance, because we've pretty consistently seen Mr. Dawodu show up and show the fuck out and look good doing it. He was very gun shy this weekend. He got some good ones out, but he seemed very hesitant and a little too tentative for my taste. I hope we see him getting his balls back, as they say.
I think that had to do something with his dance partner's egregious missing of weight. I'm thinking that may have had something to play with in his head a little bit, and a little bit gunshot, which I can understand. That somebody comes in that much fucking overweight, you gotta kind of worry a little bit, because I mean, he was almost a full weight class up. I'm just saying, he was literally damn near the next weight class up. How much he missed.
I mean, Hakeem, you kind of saw the wrestler versus wrestler thing starting up when they got going. And it's like, it's like, come on, dudes. Like, I get why Hakeem wouldn't want to wrestle the dude. I get it. You know, that dude's got extra weight on you. we know who he trains under.
Right.
You know, he's you don't want to fight him on the ground, but that sloppy ass boxing that wrestlers like to do when they face each other. That's what we saw most of. And the fight, I think Hakeem kind of suffered because of it. That's not the sort of fight you ever want to get into. Not with his skills. So it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, I wouldn't want to wrestle the dude either. So I get it.
True. And at the end of the day, he still did come away with the W. So, but I did think it was interesting that in the not the like octagon side one that they do, but the actual like post-fight press conference, Hakeem mentioned that they saw him when Hakeem came down to check to use the official scale before the weigh-ins, just to, you know, make 100% certain that the scale they're using is accurate with the scale that they had up in his room that they were working with. It comes down, and they said that that individual was on a treadmill in a doubled up sweatsuit, just dying, looking like a Walking Dead fucking zombie on the treadmill, just wearing it, not feeling it. And apparently the manager mentioned something about they were close, that they'll get there, that it's hard, but they'll get there. And that they're guessing when Hakeem showed up, checked his weight, was on weight, mentioned that he was on fucking weight perfectly already, and then strolled out smiling, that this individual most likely just got right off the fucking treadmill and called it a day at that point, because they looked about the same size on the treadmill, puffed up with the extra suits, as they did when they got to the actual official weigh-in, because he stuck around to watch, having a feeling that he wasn't going to make it. Sure enough, he didn't fucking make it. So he deserved that L and much, much more. But fuck that asshat. Let's move on to the next amazing fucking battle that we had on this fucking card. This fight was way better than it had any right to be. This fight was fucking spectacular. We knew there was a possibility it was going to be good, but when the ladies got in there, it turned into fucking all out war again. The craziness from the fight before it was washed right out of the goddamn octagon. And I say it all the time, and I'm going to say it again. Regardless of how I feel about a person, I try to make a point to give credit where credit is due. And Sarge, despite stepping in on short notice, flying across the fucking world to an opponent she didn't have time to train for, looked way better than I thought she was going to. She stood in there and took her fucking licks and gave as much as she got, for the most part, as things started to progress. But holy shit, the last minute Imanari roll from Catlin Vieira was fucking spectacular. I did not see that coming, but I am not mad to see that done properly, because prior to this, the only real time that people had a chance to see an Imanari roll done in MMA was when Ryan Hall was in there and did like 9 of them and couldn't land any of them. And it just looked like he was cartwheel fighting his opponent. That's not what it's supposed to look like. What we saw happen where Ketlin flipped the fuck over and grabbed Sarge was how that was supposed to go. That lock-in was absolutely fucking beautiful. Like I said, props to fucking Sarge for coming in on short notice like a fucking savage and putting on one hell of a war. This is another one of those. I don't think there's a lot of loss in real estate in terms of Sarge getting her fucking L in this situation here. She showed up short notice against a fucking very, very dangerous opponent and looked pretty goddamn good. She held her own a lot better than me and a lot of other people thought she was going to. So I think she actually did do herself some solid, way more, I would say, than like Angela Hill has been doing in taking short notice fights. I think this for Sarge looked way better on that short notice feature, I guess would be a good word for it here. Yeah,
I definitely agree that Sarge put up a way better fight than I think anybody expected. That was one of her best fights. Easily.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that.
And those two ladies, I mean, you give them credit for just unleashing on each other, because that's exactly what they did. They were just, there was a couple moments where they would stall out on the cage, and then, or it would go to the ground, and then it would get like they would break back up and they would just start going after each other again. It was fucking fantastic, especially the ends of the rounds. Like they were like the second they heard the
clapper. Yeah, every time the clapper went off,
like
they got after it.
So it was a great fight. It was I think I said during the match, I was like, this is Sarge's best fight. This is the best she's ever looked.
Yeah.
And short notice on the other side of the world, that's pretty amazing. So yeah, it was a great fight.
Yeah, considering because she mentioned in the embedded series for this that she literally got the phone call and had an hour from the time the call got in to the time she had to be at the airport to leave, to go to Vegas, or to go get her test, rather, to get the quarantine set up so that she would be ready in time to get on the plane so she could be there and get the quarantine on the other side and then get any kind of training and everything in. She had an hour to make her decision. Like, are you going to take this short notice fight? Not just short notice fight, but short notice fight, and then running from now until the fight starts, basically flying all the way across the goddamn world, time zone changes galore, stressed out fucking training environment, and then trying to make sure you stay on weight and are in fighting condition. Props. Fucking tip of the hat for sure to Sarge on that.
The one fight that I was only off by a little bit on. So I thought Sarge was going to show up, and I thought she was actually going to do work, but I was also not accounting for the fact that both of them were going to do equal amounts of work.
Yes, it was a lot better than I anticipated.
It was kind of along the lines of where I thought it was. However, Sarge didn't win, which I'm perfectly all right with. It's fucking fabulous to watch him go at it. I think the only thing that gives me more props is thinking about how early in the morning all of these people were fucking fighting over there. So those of us stateside can enjoy our regularly scheduled program at our regularly scheduled time. So, I mean, when they're fighting at, I think they were at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
I think the early, or the prelims, rather, the beginning of the prelims, I think
early
was like 5:30 or 6 a.m.
or something, or 3 a.m. And then as you got into the prelims, it was like 4 or 5 a.m. And at this point, I think you're somewhere in the 6 a.m.-ish category.
I think they said that the main event kicked off at like 7:30 a.m. local time.
Yeah, it's fucking just something absolutely crazy. And I think you're literally waking up out of bed and going, oh, fuck, I got to go get punched in the face and punch somebody else in the face. It's a rough way to start your day.
Fuck, yes, it is.
I mean, you sign the dotted line. That's what you get paid to do. Do it.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, but the second hitch in the giddy up, as it were, for City Kickboxing. This is, again, not to toot our own horn, but fucking toot. We said it last week. This is the hardest fight City Kickboxing had on the fucking card. Kaya Kara France versus Brandon Royval was the toughest matchup that City Kickboxing had lined up all night, and we were absolutely right on the fucking money. Those boys came out and were getting the fuck after it from the second that fucking fight opened up. Mad fucking respect to Kaya Kara France for being a fucking soldier, but man, Brandon Royval is just so fucking smooth with everything he does. He's so fucking technical, and he's so slick with his accuracy. And when he threw that fucking guillotine on, I honestly didn't know if it was locked in or not from the initial. It kind of looked like he was using it as a position mover to kind of force France to react and do something so that he could set something else up. And then he wrapped up and sank. And as soon as you saw him start to pull, you were like, oh my God, you realize how fucking set in that was. And it was over. Mad fucking respect. I've been saying since we first saw this fucking kid, and I'm going to say it till it gives me a reason not to. Keep your fucking eyes on Brandon Royval. That kid is tearing through this fucking division and earning every step of the way up the fucking ladder. And I think he's going to be a real problem once he starts getting into the higher ranked guys, because he has got everything that we have seen it take to get you to the fucking mountaintop in spades. I cannot fucking wait to see somebody with a good number next to their name get matched up with this kid next, because holy shit.
You know what impressed me most? Kai Kara France rocked him within like the first 15 seconds of the fight.
Absolutely.
Goes down to one knee, takes another shot, and pops back up and throws one of the nastiest spinning fucking elbows you've seen.
And landed it too.
Yeah, square on the jaw and rocked Kai Kara France. And then proceeds to try like 7 or 8 different submissions on his ass, trying anything. That was round of the year.
Yep, absolutely round of the
round
fucking
of,
year,
round of the
man.
year.
That was insane.
And then like that guillotine, like I saw Kai Kara France pick him up. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a nasty takedown. And then all of a sudden he just adjusted just a little bit, and you're like, oh, does he have a guillotine on him?
Yeah.
Does he like, oh, he's going down. That's bad. And that was about how long it took him to tap out.
Yep.
It was awesome. That was a great fight. And Roy Ball, I mean, we all said it last week. The dude is a finisher.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He goes after finishes. Like you're either gonna get knocked out or you're gonna get tapped out. You don't go to decision with that kid. And it was fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. That first round was just fireworks. And then the second round, that finish getting clamped in that way, I was like, because I thought he was taking one of those nasty Matt Hughes type slams. And that's not at all what went down.
I think that's kind of what Kai Kara France thought was going to happen too.
That's exactly when he picked him up like that. I think that's exactly what he thought he was about to do to him, and little did he know what was about to get clamped onto his ass.
The only thing that made me sad about that fight as a whole, I didn't get to see 2 more fucking rounds of craziness after the first round. That first round was absolutely batshit fucking crazy. Fucking amazing. It could have went either way in the first round. I had no idea what was going to happen in the second. I did not see a fucking guillotine finish coming at all. I thought those two were just going to head for the fucking hills, duking it out for the next 2 rounds. And old sneaky Roy Ball in there fucking blew it out of the water. Fucking amazing round. Like, that's the kind of round that you judge all other fights by on how good of a round that these guys really have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think with a couple more good fights, that guy is just going to skyrocket through that fucking division, man. He has shown us every time he has come out that he is just better than he was before. And the last time we saw him, he looked fucking great. So if he stays on this path, man, it's going to get real interesting real fast in 135. I'm fucking telling you, boys and girls. Now, that will bring us to Saturday night's history-making co-main event. We knew there was a chance it was going to go down this way. I don't think anybody knew exactly how this one was going to play out because there were so many fucking variables here. But we knew there was a possibility it was going to play out this way. And I can't help but feel very reminiscent about Dominic Reyes' performance Saturday night as I did Harrison Butker's performance on Monday night. When you read a little bit too many of your own headlines and you start smelling what you're selling a little too strongly and you breathe in a little too much of that Kool-Aid powder when you're making yourself a glass, sometimes you really get it in your head that you're that motherfucker without having had to actually verify it yet. Last weekend, Harrison Butker kicked 3 58-yard field goals in a row and nailed all fucking 3 of them. And then Monday night, he missed a 21-yard field goal and an after field goal extra point with no pressure on him in either situation. Dominic Reyes, the last time we saw him out there, gave John Jones arguably one of the closest runs for his fucking money we saw in his entire reign at 205. And that's not the Dominic Reyes that we saw show up Saturday night. The man that we saw show up Saturday night in Dominic Reyes' place looked and talked a whole lot like he already had a belt around his waist and had no problem walking right through the opposition that they had put in front of him. And much like Luke Rockhold learned the very fucking hard way, you don't get to overlook Jan Blachowicz in any stretch of the imagination. Jan Blachowicz showed up with Polish power and a fucking granite chin. He ate everything that Dominic Reyes threw at him and threw back twice as much. And when that moment arose, history was made. Polish power sank through the jaw, and Dominic Reyes learned the hard way why you can never overlook Jan Blachowicz. We now officially have our first male Polish UFC champion, one Jan Blachowicz, King of 205. That man showed up to make a fucking statement, and it did just that.
Oh, all right. I want to say it. I'm going to say it right now. I fucking knew it. I fucking knew Jan was going to win this. When we did the show last week, I had to say coin flip because I really didn't know, but I had this strong fucking gut feeling that it was going to be Jan. And if anybody goes back and listens, I kept leaning towards Jan. This was the most exciting fight of the night for me, leading up into the fights, because I had a feeling that this was going to be fucking fireworks. And it was. Now, it wasn't as fireworky as our previous fight, but those guys kind of blew the roof off the fucking building. And
yes, they did.
But for light heavyweights, they both showed up. However, there was something I really noticed in that fight that I think made a difference, and it wasn't necessarily Reyes drinking his own Kool-Aid, because he still looked pretty solid.
Yeah, he didn't look terrible, but I don't want to get that misconstrued. I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that Reyes looked like shit, but he didn't look like the John Jones Reyes that we saw.
Did anybody see the work that Jan was doing to the body in the first round, working to pay dividends later in the fight?
Yeah.
The mark on Dominic's
bruise.
fucking ribs.
Yeah, and just the body kicks, and he threw a couple good fucking hooks into the body and that were doing some major damage. He was working dividends for the long run of the fight. He wasn't looking for a finish, but when that finish opportunity
showed up,
presented it itself, he was fucking ready. Look, I'll say it right now. That was probably one of the sharpest striking that we've seen out of Jan yet. Not that his striking was ever bad, because it's always been good, but man, was he on fucking point. Everything was pinpoint accuracy and straight to the point, no looping crazy fucking punches. It was a thing of beauty to watch. Now, the one thing I'll say about Reyes here, this is a little reminiscent of a one Alexander Gustafsson. Lost his fight to Jones, and then proceeded to go down this terrible fucking trail of losses. I'm really hoping that that's not the case with Reyes, because he's a good, solid fighter. I'm hoping, you know what, maybe it was you were just drinking your Kool-Aid or fucking, had an off night, or maybe Jan's just that fucking good. I mean, I'm just saying. I'll say it outright. I don't think the UFC has given him enough credit. I really think he is that fucking good. Whoever he fights, whether it be Glover or fucking Thiago, they're going to have a hard fucking night.
Yeah,
period.
they're going to earn it. They're going to earn it.
They're going to have to earn it if they want it. And I mean, they're really going to have to fucking earn it. But I have this feeling this is not going to be the last we see of Reyes. I don't think we're going to see that same reminiscence of Gustafsson thing. However, you never know. Once Gustafsson took that first loss to Jones, it was just this weird kind of slow downward spiral thing. I'm hoping we don't see that out of Reyes, because you know what? That'd be a sad thing, because Reyes is mighty young. So, I mean, he's got a lot of fight left in him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's the end of him. I hope it's not the end of him. I agree. There is absolutely the possibility that he takes that fucking Gus path and this just sets that fucking downward road. And I hope that's not the case. I think he's still got a lot of fight left in him. I think he's just young. He got a little ahead of himself. He needs to calm the fuck down, recenter. I think it's very Ngannou-esque what happened to him, because Francis tore his fucking way up through heavyweights and was absolutely smelling what he was selling until Stipe gave him a little fucking reality check here, put him back to fucking Cloud 9, or back off of Cloud 9 rather, brought him back down to earth. And if you look at Ngannou now, he legitimately absorbed that fucking L, grounded himself, got back to what he started with, and he's looking better than he ever fucking did. I'm really hoping we can see something similar from Reyes. I think he comes down off this fucking pedestal that Jan knocked him off of. I hope he eats a little humble pie, takes a good nap. heals up, gets back to the fucking thing that got him to the dance.
And the last thing I'm going to add to this, I'm going to say it right now. Doing a little MMA math here. Did Jones finish Reyes? Does anybody remember? No, he fucking didn't. Jan did. Therefore, Jan better than Jones. I'm saying it.
Even more than that, John had 25 minutes and couldn't finish Reyes. Jan only needed 9.
Yep. 9 and some change.
9 and change, and he put Reyes to fucking bed.
And
So-
John wants to talk about, should I come down? Dude, you'll get sat the fuck down too. Shut up.
I will say, I'm not generally the biggest fan of the immediate win and then call out a dude in another class, with the exception of how Jan handled his. Because the first thing Jan said when he got on the mic after he won, before he went back, his ringside interview, the first thing he said was, "I'm not done. I want John Jones. John was the best. He's considered the best at 205. This belt is nice, but I want to fight John." And then after the fact, DC opened his cocksucker and started flapping off at the Popeyes shit talking. And immediately after that, Jan responded with, "Shut up, fat boy, or get your ass in the ring and I'll teach you some respect like we do in Poland." I'm not always a fan of calling out, but if you boys at heavyweight are going to talk shit about the fucking Polish light heavyweight champ, lace your fucking gloves up and come down to talk. Don't sit on Twitter and talk shit. Both of those boys can and have made 205. You got a problem with the Polish power, come fucking get some.
Yeah.
I was very happy with that.
Yeah, all I can really say about this is it was like the first body kick that landed. Like you immediately started seeing that bruise forming up on Reyes, and
So
like,
nasty.
and he kept going after him. He kept going after him. So yeah, it was pretty remarkable display. And that shot that got Reyes, just the look on his face, he was just like, "Wait, what the fuck just happened?"
Did you, speaking of the body,
It was just-
did you notice how much precision he had? Every
It
time
was the same spot
it was the
every
same
time.
exact
Yeah.
fucking spot. It was just a thing of fucking absolute beauty.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fucking painting it put on his ribs. It was a thing of beauty too. That fucker was like big as a fucking pie plate, man.
Oh
It
yeah, I was
fucking
gonna say it was dish plate size by the time it was all said and done. A bruise.
And he just and Reyes kept trying to protect it, and he would get suckered into opening it up again. And yeah, it was Jan put on a striking clinic. Dude's so distracted by his side, did not see that shot coming.
Yeah, not at
Just
all.
set him up perfectly. So yeah, it was a great fight by Jan. That's about all that could be said.
Absolutely. So, as if the history-making Polish championship being solidified wasn't enough excitement for you, that was just the co-main event Saturday night. We also had the middleweight championship as our main event. This situation, toot fucking toot. We told you, I actually spent last week talking with my cousin while I was helping my aunt and uncle move about how bad Israel Adesanya was going to beat the shit out of Paulo Costa, because he is literally that juiced up one-trick pony, and Izzy is too fucking technical. He's too smart, and he's too quick with his precision to stand there like a fucking clown. And in true juicehead fucking style, at one point in the fight, he literally pulled a Yoel Romero and stood still and did the "I'm going to stand here, you come get me" in the middle of the fucking ring. Needless to say, Izzy didn't fall for it the first time, and he's not going to fall for it this fucking time, and he did not. Izzy basically spent what there was of the fight systematically picking Paulo Costa apart. And you saw clear as fucking day, Paulo's plan was to load that right hand up and headhunt all fucking night with it. He just wanted that one big punch. And you could read him like a fucking children's book. Ray Charles saw that game plan and snickered. It was terrible. and Izzy took full advantage and did Izzy things. He landed weird shots. He landed laser beam fucking shots. He landed counters whenever Paulo would fucking throw his ridiculous fucking haymakers. Izzy got in there and showed exactly why he is the fucking king of 185. And I think unless Cannonier can get past Robert Whittaker and really be in, I mean, legitimately peak tip-top fucking perfection form, there's not really a lot left at 185 to put a legitimate challenge in front of Adesanya. I think Cannonier stands a good chance. I don't think Whittaker can ever take it back. I think he had his run, and I think Izzy is too much of the new breed, and the game is passing him by. I think we're about to watch Whittaker slowly trip his way down the mountain heading for the clubhouse. I think with the exception of maybe Cannonier, there's not a lot that's going to challenge Izzy at 185, man. He's too technical, he's too smart, and he's too fucking precise, man.
Only one thing about this entire fight, and this is the fight that actually surprised me. Not for the outcome, but for the way it played out. I expected fucking Costa to come in there, rock 'em, sock 'em robots like he does with everybody else.
Like he said he was gonna.
Some odd reason, he got in front of him and he just was standing there frozen. And I don't know if it was the first fucking couple leg kicks, because, I mean, those leg kicks were fucking gnarly. But at that point, you would have figured, oh, I'm in a fight. I need to start punching. He never let loose. Like, you see him just fucking run and gun a lot. Where was any of that? I think he honestly fucked himself, and that's where it kind of the fight itself surprised me, because without that aspect of it, it didn't seem like the fight that I thought it was going to be, which is why I wasn't hyped about it, because I thought I knew it was going to go on.
Right.
I was way more hyped to see the way that it turned out, because it was completely different than what I thought was going to happen, in the fact that there was no rock'em sock'em robot chasing him across fucking 12 fucking countries before you get knocked out by him. But I mean,
you mean like the video that he put out on his social media right before the fight of him chasing an Israel Adesanya clone around the octagon and then beating him up mercilessly to win the news championship?
I didn't even see that. I'm just saying,
Oh
it's fucking weird to not see him do what he's normally done to get to the title shot.
Right.
Which, when you do that and you completely change what was working, you're bound to fucking get your ass whipped. And you know what? With all the shit he had talked up to it and all the trash that was between the two of them, anybody who says a bad thing about the fucking humping at the end, fuck them.
That's
Dude,
that's exactly what I was saying.
If the refs
That's
wouldn't
what
have
I was
pushed him away
leading.
from his head, teabag right in the fucking mouth. Fuck
No,
the dude.
that's what I was leading up to, is that aside from the blatant shit talking that Paulo was doing every time they put a microphone in front of his fucking face, his social media for the week and a half, almost probably 2 weeks maybe before the fight, was just loaded with shit, making fun of Izzy, talking shit, playing out on Izzy, trying to be the social media fucking clown. And then at the end of the fight, he gets all fucking offended because Izzy got a little fucking ass tap on him after he beat that ass. Bitch, you earned every fucking bit of that. You sowed those fucking oats. Reap them, bitch. But that being said, fight of the night, to the surprise of very few, Brandon Royval versus Kia France. It was a great fucking match, man. That was a great fucking match.
Yeah. Whoever decided to put those two together, God bless you.
Right.
Hey, I have a quick little tidbit I have to throw in here. Did anybody see the what the fuck scratch your head moment that Paulo Costa is now claiming that Izzy Adesanya is taking performance enhancement drugs?
Yeah, that's basically the way that I equate that is it's the bigger Luke theory of MMA right now. For those unfamiliar, the bigger Luke theory is a conspiracy theory proposed by some that there were actually two Luke Skywalkers in the movie. Not two actors, but two actual different characters. That there is a larger or bigger Luke, who is approximately 1.75 inches taller than the other Luke, and is discernibly different in appearance in different scenes of the movie, as to indicate that there are two Luke Skywalkers, not just actors, two actual Luke Skywalkers in reality. In this situation, Paulo Costa, the suspected steroid user for multiple years now, from multiple different reputable sources, is trying to say that based on a perceived gynecomastia, small inflaming of one of Adesanya's pecs, that was an indication that he had been using steroids there, and it was a result of him cycling down. You can go back and look at all the footage. You can go back and look at all the pictures.
Or you could just look at the fight. You just look at the fight and be like, dude, he took every part of your game away from you and then proceeded to land every strike that he wanted on you.
Yeah, when he won.
I mean, like, my only problem is, like, lose with grace.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree. But to the surprise of even fewer, performance of the night bonuses went to Israel Adesanya for handling that fucking juice monkey, and Jan Blachowicz for ending any fucking question about Polish power. So both of the belt holders went home with an extra $50K. That being said, we do have a little bit of news and a couple of fight announcements I do want to go over here real quick before we get into this head shaker of a card that we've got for this weekend coming up here. The first little piece of news, I guess it is technically a fight announcement here. It's not a full organizational change, but it is a fight announcement. Genesis FC, a kin to BKFC over in Europe, will be putting on a bare knuckle exhibition match between one Josh the War Master Barnett and the Cage Warriors current champion, Marcin Rosalski. For those who have not seen, Mr. Rosalski looks very much like a light-skinned version of young Mike Tyson, facial tattoos and all. He is a large gentleman with a very bad temperament, and I'm not sure if he just doesn't know who Josh Barnett is, or if that's just kind of his, like, I'm a badass, I'm not scared of anybody, but he seems very confident going in here. And unlike Frank Mir taking a bare knuckle match, Josh Barnett, I feel, stands a much, much better chance over in the bare knuckle world. I think it's going to be interesting to play out. October 23rd, we will find out one way or another, though.
Interesting. Josh Barnett, bare knuckle. I'm not sure I'd want to. I don't care who I was. I'm not sure I'd want to fight him bare knuckle.
Yeah, no,
that dude's got fucking mailboxes for fists.
Yeah,
He's a
exactly.
Big boy.
Yeah, it's one of those stories that it's not going to get a lot of general MMA journalism coverage, but I'm telling you right now, that's going to be an interesting fucking match to watch. We got a couple of other fights here. The first one for November 7th, they have officially lined up on the UFC. Felipe Lenz stepping back into the octagon against Dontail Miles. So another newer big man prospect battle that I think will be interesting to keep an eye on.
Okay.
We did get a little disheartening piece of news about the 2 weeks from now, or week and a half from now, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend's Abu Dhabi card. We have lost Volkan Ozdemir versus Nikita Krylov. It was announced this afternoon that Volkan hurt his knee. They are not sure if he is going to need surgery or not, but he apparently cannot walk at all. Not being able to walk a week before a fight against Nikita Krylov, understandable that he is going to remove himself from that match.
Yes.
UFC has not officially announced if they have anyone locked in. They are looking for a replacement since Nikita's already over there, I believe, and the fight is this fucking close. If they can get a last-minute replacement, I think there's still potential for it to be an interesting matchup, but as of now, Volkan is out and hurt, and maybe hurt seriously. We'll find out more in the next couple days. As far as this afternoon goes, for those of you who were unaware, I believe it started at 8 o'clock this morning Central Time. The next venture in the Bellator European Series took place, the first of their CBS Sports cards, live from Milan, Italy. Three things that I want to talk about real quick about that event. The first one, we found out last night, Paul Daly, set to be the main event headliner, missed weight. Showed up at 172.6 for a 170-pound fight, and then was hospitalized immediately after missing weight. Main event was scrapped, needless to say. They moved it up to the two ladies that were on the card as the co-main event, as the new main event. Jackson versus, I can't remember the lady's name right now, sorry. But they canceled the fight with Paul Daly. Paul Daly basically goes to social media and says, you know, I passed out. It happens all the time when you're missing weight, or when you're making weight, rather. It's no big deal. I'm ready to go. Didn't get any IVs, so the fight's still on. Bellator immediately followed up with, no, the fuck it's not. You missed weight. You passed out. You had to be taken to the hospital. The fight is off. Needless to say, they changed the poster, they changed the event, they moved the fights. The ladies co-main stepped up, became the new main event. Then this afternoon, we got an announcement right before the event itself actually took place that Paul Daly has one fight left in him. He's going to make it a 175-pound catch weight fight with an opponent and a date to be determined. But after that, he is officially going to retire. He said, win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter. The samurai is going to hang up his blade at this point. I'm not really sure what to think about that, because despite Paul Daly being a very, very accomplished and respectable fighter, there's been some ups and downs as of late. There's been some questionable incidents. And then this not being in the least bit the first time he's missed weight, but the first time that he's missed weight and then had to be hospitalized for it. I get it. I get it. Go out while you're still capable, hang him up, go do something. You're clearly a good commentator, as long as it's not for MVP. There are options. So we did get a very different event this afternoon for Bellator than originally scheduled. But I will say this, of the, I believe it was 12 fights total, 9 of them were finishes and the other 2 were decisions. And the 2 decisions were both unanimous decisions. And there were some fucking beautiful submissions during this card. The first ever, I believe, Scorpion Crunch submission. It is one of the strangest looking submissions you will ever see. You quite literally catch the person with your body, grab your own legs around them, and pull yourself into a vice grip, essentially, to crush the other person's body. And there was one.
It's essentially, for those of you who don't know, it's a super fucking ridiculous tight guard, basically.
Yes, yes.
That's
absolutely
what it boils down to. Because you reach around the back of your legs, you squeeze your thighs together, and then pull on your legs together. So that way you're getting even more of a crunch. So you're basically just squeezing the piss out of their abdomen.
Yeah, and it was kind of amazing, because you saw it getting locked in and then crunch down, and then the girl immediately fucking tapped. And when she got let go, the first thing she did was the biggest deep sigh you've ever fucking seen. She immediately just went... She couldn't fucking breathe. She was getting folded like a fucking taco. It was impressive. So there was absolutely some great fucking finishes on that card.
Oh, there was one thing I did want to mention.
Go ahead.
When you were talking about old Sentex, his career as a whole has been one giant fucking question mark.
Yeah.
With questionable decisions, questionable actions. There's a reason why he has not fought in the UFC since the early 2000s. because of questionable decisions, questionable actions. And for you, those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'll go way, way back. There was this wonderful curly-haired blonde fucking fighter that made him look fucking silly the whole fucking fight. And Semtex didn't like the way he was running his mouth at the end of the fight after he obviously got his ass whipped. Hit him after the fucking bell. Dana
Certainly
White blacklisted him. That he will never fight in the UFC again. And he has not and will not come anywhere near it. There's a reason why you've seen him in Bellator for so long.
Yep.
The dude's questionable at best. There's always controversies surrounding him. To be honest, fucking go ahead and retire. Nobody's going to miss you. In fact, there's the fuck was that country singer song called I'm Not Gonna Miss You? It's literally the epitome of that, even though that was actually about Alzheimer's. But, you know.
Oh, kids these days. No.
I wish I had Alzheimer's so I would forget that motherfucker ever existed.
No, it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out. Be even more interesting to see how the future couple cards of Bellator go through, but we'll get to those as they get closer. Couple of interesting late announcements over the last couple of days here. The first thing we got was the very now public dispute between Conor McGregor and Dana White. Basically, Dana saying that Conor's either turned down or just flat out ignored fight offers that Dana's offered him, and that Conor, quote unquote, doesn't want to fight. I'm sure you've heard it a million times. He said it a million fucking times. When you make that much money, it's hard to say that you want to fight anymore. Well, then Conor McGregor literally released the text messages between he and Dana White, and Conor McGregor has been a mosquito in Dana's ear non-fucking stop. Conor McGregor wants back in the fucking fight world, and it very much now looks like Dana has been keeping him on the sidelines so he can use him when he wants to bring the hype in, despite Conor actively saying, I want to fucking fight. So Conor has basically removed the UFC from his way in terms of going forward. He announced that he will be boxing Manny Pacquiao in UAE in summer of 2021, which they've already got a poster for. Manny Pacquiao confirmed, said they've been working on it for a while, that it's going to go now. And then, of course, as soon as the announcement went through that Conor would be boxing Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather popped immediately up out of the fucking woodwork, said that there's no reason to even make that fight, that he would put up $300 million immediately to rematch Conor and just scrap that whole Manny thing again. So even in retirement and unretirement and re-retirement, Floyd still can't not try and fuck with Manny, which I think is still hilarious. But we have not heard anything more than Floyd's squawk about their rematch. We've heard from both Conor and Manny in terms of that fight happening, but that even set up a stranger course of events that unfolded over the last 2 days via Twitter. We basically had the politest call out, with the exception of Wonder Boy making his first Twitter call out ever last week, which was hilarious and adorable. Probably the most polite interaction we have ever seen from Conor McGregor, and it took place very publicly. He and Dustin Poirier basically hashed out all the details to set up a charity MMA event, with both of them raising a ton of fucking money. Conor agreed to donate like $500,000. And then all the proceeds would be given to, or split between, the Conor McGregor Foundation to go to more charities, and then the Good Fight, Dustin Poirier's charity foundation. Basically, Conor is going to pay for Dustin and his corner and his family to fly to Dublin to put on this exhibition MMA match on December 12th. They agreed on it. They've already got posters made for it. They basically cut the UFC out of the equation because Dana White doesn't want Conor to fucking fight. Conor and Dustin have been talking about going back and getting that rematch in for years now. Seems like we're going to get it as a charity event without Dana White in the UFC, which, that fight will be great. If that fight comes to fruition, that fight will be great. I'm telling you right fucking now. B, taking the UFC out of it and making it a full charity event will get it that much more attention and help it raise that much more money. And see the fact that they're saying straight out that this is for charity. They're not doing this so that they can make money. This is to raise millions and millions for charity on both sides, which will get it that much more attention. Undercard or not, whether it's just a single fight event, I think if this actually comes to fruition, this might be one of the biggest events for the rest of 2020 to keep your eye on.
You know, I have to play devil's advocate on both of those two things for this reason. The Manny Pacquiao fight, if that's to happen, Conor's still under contract with the UFC because he never dropped retirement papers.
Right.
He just said I'm retired. So they would have to give a blessing to have a sanctioned boxing match as when they did with Pacquiao.
Right.
Or with, not Pacquiao, Jesus.
Mayweather.
Mayweather, you guys know what I mean. Fucking, I'm losing my mind because I'm getting old. Yeah. So they would have to give a release to say, yeah, it's okay for you guys to sanction a boxing match for that.
Right.
Now, on the other side of this, because they're labeling this as an exhibition match between him and Dustin, that's not a sanctioned fight.
Nope.
So they have no fucking pot to piss in when it comes to that. The only thing that they can possibly do is to try to throw some legal injunction on it, which will get thrown out eventually and end up postponing the shit.
Right.
Because, I mean, being as it's an exhibition, it's no more than, hey, how about you come train at my gym and we'll do fucking 3 5-minute rounds in my gym and we'll record it.
Right. Essentially.
Yeah, it's no different than that, except for it's going to be, they're not going to try, I'm sure the way that they're going to do it is pay what you can to watch it.
Right.
Type fucking situation, because you can't do it as a pay-per-view because then it has to be sanctioned and all that other shit. I have a feeling it's going to be we're going to put it on whatever streaming platform where they take donations, like a la Twitch or something. And that's how they'll do it. Although I still think the fucking UFC is going to have a conniption fit. I mean, Dana's already turning over in his grave because, oh my God, Conor fucking called me out for lying to the fucking general public and he broke man code, blah, blah, blah. No, he didn't. He broke you from being a lying fucking rat that everybody knew you already were.
Right. Kind of ironic that Dana made a point to tell John Jones when he was beefing with John Jones, go ahead, release my text messages. I have nothing to hide. But when Conor McGregor actually does it, and it turns out Dana was lying and trying to hide it, now he broke the bro code or the man code, however the fuck he said it.
Yeah, it's
come on,
fucking ridiculous. But I mean, to be honest, I hope that exhibition goes through because you know what?
I do.
That also does another thing, and that takes power away from the UFC. And a lot of it, because you have two of your biggest stars in the UFC that are going to go, yeah, we're just going to go do our own thing over here. What are you going to do? Come at me. We're under contract with you, but this isn't a sanctioned fight, so it doesn't fucking matter.
Exactly. And it also sets the precedent for some of these other guys who've had issues with each other in, relatively close weight classes and shit that the UFC will never match up. Find yourself a fucking charity organization that'll help you set this up as an exhibition. You don't have to do it in the UFC. As long as you do it safely and there's supervision and it's under, professionality. If this goes through, that can open a whole new door for non-UFC fights of UFC fighters.
Be interesting, whichever way it plays out.
Yeah, you never know.
But I have a feeling that's definitely going to give one of two things. Either they're doing it because they both want leverage, because you know what? Conor's all about the scratch. And lately we've realized Dustin realizes he's worth money and they're not paying the money he's worth. And I can't blame him. If you're worth the money, fuck it. And he's worth the money at this point. He's showed enough to where he's a big enough draw and he always performs. So, you know what? This gives them fucking bargaining power to go, you know what? If you're not going to do it for us, we'll do it our goddamn selves.
Agreed.
And I don't think, as long as neither of them make a dime off of this,
right?
As
long as it's full charity.
Yeah, I don't think the UFC has a pot to piss in trying to injunction it or anything like that. If either of them were making money in any way, then it would be something. there would be some room for them to go after them because they would be making money. You know, they're both under contract. They're making money off the names and the platform that the UFC gave them.
Right.
But as long as it's charity, I think they're in the clear.
Yeah, because when they were talking about it, when they were hashing out the details, the poster that they released for it says McGregor Entertainment and the Good Fight organization, or the goodfight.org, present. This is literally being, at least from what it's being set up, to be 100% charity run, set up at 100% charity proceeds. So if that's the way they do it, I think this could be awesome for everyone involved, really.
What I want to know is who is their charity ref that's going to be willing to come in there and charity ref it.
Good question. I bet somebody will, though. If they get it put on, I bet somebody will.
You know, McGregor offers somebody a free trip to Dublin,
right?
With some expenses paid for, things like that. You know, you don't know who'll show up.
Ditch again.
Never know. Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, and with the platform that these two could offer, I mean, there's all sorts of people that would probably be willing to come in and have their own charities represented.
Right, just for their face and their names to be attached to it as well. Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, this could turn out to be a heck of a card. I mean, there's all sorts of dudes in the UFC, outside the UFC, that have a lot of really good things going. So, you know, if it's done right, it could turn into a hell of a card, and it could be a big thing for MMA as a whole.
I agree. I'm kind of excited. I'm not gonna lie. You always got to take everything you hear about Conor McGregor lately with a grain of salt. But of anything we've heard in fucking since the fucking Cowboy fight, I hope the most that this comes to fruition. I could honestly give or take the Manny Pacquiao fight. I could give or take the Floyd Mayweather rematch. Mm-hmm. This charity fight that these two are talking about here, I legitimately hope this comes to fruition. I think this would be a great thing for everyone that's involved with it.
Yeah, I agree.
But like I said, you got to take any Conor McGregor news with a grain of salt. There's also a possibility this was all just a fucking promotional stunt because Dustin just tried to negotiate for more money and didn't get it. And Conor is clearly still begging to get that fucking ownership stake in the UFC. So for what it's worth, this could also be a very much negotiation ploy on both fucking sides. But if it's not, if this comes to fruition and is legit, don't fuck with my heartstrings like that, Conor McGregor.
I think it does huge things for the sport if it comes to fruition.
I think so too.
For not just UFC fighters, but for Bellator, fucking ONE FC, every fucking buddy.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because then that gives you that chance for, we want to soup. I've always wanted to fight this guy in fucking Bellator, but we're not going to get promotion in the UFC. Let's do a charity fight.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's so much potential if this works out. It could be so good for the fucking sport. For the charities it's going to raise millions of fucking dollars for. It could be really good. I really do hope it comes through. But that being said, we do still have a card this weekend that we need to talk a little bit about. Like we kind of led you to suspect here, we don't have the greatest event this weekend. The bad thing about them going to Abu Dhabi for months at a time is that there's 2 pay-per-views, but there's 5 cards. So much like when we've got fights back home, yeah, we'll have a pay-per-view and there'll be a big fight, but you still have events in between those pay-per-views and they're not always jam-packed with fireworks shows. This is very much one of those shows. The first Fight Night Abu Dhabi on the round 2 of this Fight Island, hashtag not my Fight Island, circuit that we are going through right now. Holm versus Aldana. So, like I said, there's not a whole lot to get excited about on this card. What I will say is that the smart thing that they did is they packed the fucking prelims like a clown car with little guy and little gal fights, because those generally tend to be more exciting, and they fucking overdosed on little guy and little gal fights to open these prelims with. The bad part is that it's relatively all unknown and literally debut making fighters. So there's not a whole lot to get excited about casual wise or fair weather fan side wise, if you're looking for names, there's not a whole lot on the prelims that you're going to recognize. That's not to say there's not going to be great fights. You're just not going to recognize a lot of the names. The one fight you will recognize the names involved in on the prelim card that I do want to take a moment to talk about here is one that has kind of been flying under the radar. And I think it's because with both of the gentlemen involved here, we learned not to get our hopes up too much because they're both equally about as likely to pull out of the fight as the other. But they both kind of have a reputation for getting your hopes up and then pulling out last minute. Very Jose Aldo-ish. The fight I'm talking about here is Carlos the Natural Killer Condit versus Court McGee. This fight is Schrodinger's match, essentially, on the card. This could be fight of the night, or this could be middleweight Ngannou versus Lewis. If we get the old gun-shy Carlos Condit starting to show his age, if we get the barely able to make a fist outside of a fight crumbling in fucking road miles Court McGee, this is going to be a fucking boring match that is immediately going to make you want to throw popcorn at your fucking TV. On the other side of that coin, if we get the Carlos Condit that's been showing up in the press events talking about how he's renewed his fucking love for the sport, he wants to get back in there and he wants to even go after fucking Nick Diaz again because that loss has been itching at him. If we get the Court McGee that's talking about how much he loves to be a representative of the sport and he knows that that means you have to be able to perform. If we get the Court McGee that still loves to get in there and mix it the fuck up, this could be a fucking great matchup. But it's a matter of if on both sides here, because both of these guys are putting 18. Both of these guys can see the fucking clubhouse from where they stand, and the drink girl's bringing the card out to them. That being said, if both the hungry versions show up, this is going to get you excited for the main card. I'm just not 100% sure which version we're going to see because, like we talked about last week, when we've got folks like this that have great versions and not so great versions, and you get excited about it, more often than not, you don't get the version that you were excited to see. So fingers crossed, we get great versions of both of these gentlemen. This is going to be a fucking spectacular matchup. I'm just not 100% confident that that's what we're going to get, but there is the potential.
Yeah, I mean, at least the last time we saw Condit out, like he showed a little bit of something.
Yeah,
He showed a little bit of willingness to throw some hands before he got his ass handed to him. So
yeah,
I mean, if he wants to stand and throw hands against McGee, I mean, it'll be an interesting fight. But I mean, McGee has a tendency to go clinch and push things back against the fence and get things down on the ground, and
yeah.
that's not where this is. This is not going to be the most exciting fight. I'll call it right now. This is not going to be the most exciting fight on the planet. If I had to give it to anybody, I'd give it to McGee. I think his particular brand of fighting translates more to a win than Carlos Condit's does at this point. If McGee was fighting anybody else, like if he was fighting a newer dude, I would give it to the newer dude. I don't even care about the experience level. And even, I mean, to be honest, I'd probably do the same thing with Condit at this point. Like if you're fighting one of these newer breed of fighters that are just good at everything, like you're specializing ass, it's gonna get tore up. So I mean, at least we've got these two can fight each other and get a payday, and get one stroke closer to that 19th hole. So like I said, if I had to give it to anybody, I think McGee's skills translate if this fight actually happens. It should at this point. We're only a couple days out.
Yeah, it should.
It should happen. I think McGee's skills translate better to a win at this point of his career than Condit's do. So that's the only thing I can really think of off the top of my head.
All I see here is arthritis and walkers. Look, guys, I'm glad, but this is for that retired fight league that they were talking about quite a few years ago that just fucking fell apart because nobody really wants to see it. Just hang them up, guys. Love you both. You both did some fantastic things for the sport. At some point, you were both really good, but if I'm not mistaken, both of you guys are on like a 3 or 4 fight skid. And that's even with time off accounted in there. Time to fucking go. Dude, the sun has set. The street lights are on. You should be at home. You're going to get your ass whipped by your parents. Get home now.
TJ said it before I could. They've fucking done great things in the UFC. They have great records. They will be just names that will go down in history inside the UFC and inside MMA. Like fucking Court McGee in his fucking UFC profile picture looks like a 90-year-old man who's just like, and you need to go somewhere else. Be an announcer. Go do your own gym or something. Stop fighting. I really don't care who wins it because it really doesn't do anything for the weight class. It doesn't do anything. I could give a shit less.
And I guess, well, he's AFK.
Are we still on? Are we still on?
I don't know. I think we're still on. I didn't see anything go off. But I just want to say before we even get to it, because I know it's going to pop up, I'm not happy with the way the top half of this card is played out. I think they have the fucking people's co-main event and the main event mixed up. I'm just going to say it now before we get to it.
I agree with that.
Fucking wrong. But anyhow, it is what it is.
Sorry about that. Hashtag dog life.
There we go.
So that will bring us into the very tiny 4-fight main event card that we've got. I don't remember the last time we had a 4-fight main event. We've had some small ones lately, but most of them have been 5 and 6, and then a couple of 7-fight cards. I don't remember the last time we actually had just a 4-fight card, but we've got one this weekend. That being said, it's 4 very interesting matchups. The first one, probably the least interesting of the 3, but still very interesting. Dusko Todorovic making his debut against Daquan Townsend. Daquan Townsend is another one of those young prospects. Well, young to the UFC prospects. He's another one of those that we've seen hot and cold with. I'm hoping giving him the opening spot on the main card against the guy making his debut, we're going to get to see the early version of Daquan that we saw, where he can come out and he can use his range and he can use that fucking giant meat hammer of a fucking hand that he's got to catch you at distance. But again, come up against these new guys making their debut lately, it's really a mixed bag. There's not really a whole lot of certainty in it. But I'm thinking, based on what we have seen so far, that this is basically the UFC tossing Daquan Townsend a Candy Crush to get back on track and show what they saw in him that got him signed.
I'm just looking at Todorovic. It looks like he likes his clinch game, apparently. if if he's able to work that game at all on Townsend and take away that reach advantage, I mean, what's Townsend going to do at this point?
The other thing I do apologize, I did forget to mention, Todorovic, I'm not sure how he pronounces it, is traditionally speaking a middleweight, moving up to 205 here.
Oh, okay. I mean, Townsend hasn't shown me anything at all. Sticks in a fight a little bit and then gets finished. So, I mean, I'm gonna go for the new guy. I'm gonna Todorovic, Dusko. I love that name, Dusko Todorovic. I love that name. So, I mean, that's the only thing I can really say. I like I said, the only thing I've read about him is he has a really sharp clinch game. And if he's able to work that at all on Townsend, he'll just make hamburger out of him. So I have no faith in Townsend. I have zero faith. So
understandable.
Motion carried. Because you know what? I have no faith in that motherfucker at all. Zero. I can't. Townsend has not shown anything worthwhile in the last. Fuck, how many fights has he been in the UFC now? 3, 4?
3 now, I believe. 3 or 4. No, maybe 4.
Lost all 3. He's lost all 3 so far.
Yeah. Absolute fucking shit. Why does he have a 4th fight? Because we're in the middle of a global pandemic, so they need fighters in the bullpen, and Townsend's willing to fight and take one for the team. At this point, keep him on the fucking undercard. He's not even worth this fucking spot on the roster. In fact, I would much rather see our 2 grandpas fighting in this spot than fucking Townsend.
Yeah, I can be okay with that.
I completely concur about that.
Yeah, fucking shit. Tarantula has had his fucking limbs ripped off. He's nothing but a carapace now. Fuck him.
Yeah, I mean, Townsend has lost all 3 of his fights. I mean, the guy that's coming in, Dusko, I mean, he looks pretty good. 9 fights, 5 KO, TKO, 3 submissions, and 1 decision. I mean, that's not a bad record. I think he'd be a little bit green because, 9 fights on a more professional level. He's going to have to get used to the, big lights and all that sort of shit, like everybody does. But I mean, going against somebody that's mediocre at best, being Townsend, I mean, I think it's a very nice welcome to the UFC compared to what others have gotten more recently.
Yeah, I think it's fair. We'll have to wait and see, though. That, however, will bring us into the first of 2 very interesting ladies matchups we have on the card this evening. For my money, the more interesting of the 2, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Germaine de Randamie versus Juliana Pena. Now, there's a couple things that make this a very interesting fight for me. One of them is that Juliana Pena has taken her time in the press this week to say that a win over Germaine de Randamie should give her a title shot. 1, slow the fuck down. Worry about Germaine first. 2, Juliana's had 3 fights in the last 5 years. One of them was 3 years ago. You're not in the title conversation, let alone the title picture right now. I get that you're still ranked. Calm down. You've got a large plate in front of you first. The other thing that makes this an interesting fight for me is that Germaine de Randamie has taken her time this week with the press that's been given to her from this upcoming fight to say that she deserves a fight for the belt. Win, lose, or draw, because she showed that Amanda Nunes is human and exposed things that no one has ever been able to expose against Amanda. Credit where credit is due. She pieced Amanda the fuck up on the feet like very few ever have before. The problem was that the second Amanda was done with that shit, Amanda grabbed her raggedy ass and threw her to the fucking ground and kept her and had her way with her there as long as she fucking wanted to. So I agree. She did absolutely expose that Amanda does have very big holes in her striking game. The issue is that Amanda equally exposed that Jermaine does not have a ground game. Not that she doesn't have a good one. She doesn't have one. Amanda had her fucking way with her when that fight got to the ground. So again, worry about what's in front of you before you go looking past that. We talk about it all the time. One of the biggest mistakes a fighter can make is overlooking the opponent they have standing directly in fucking front of them for something that could or could not futurize. You never know. I think this is a beautiful example of both fighters doing that, because Jermaine is basically set in her head that she's going to fight Amanda again, regardless of how this fight goes. And Juliana somehow thinks that she's current and relevant in the title conversation and such a capable establishment in that conversation that she's going to walk through Jermaine and get herself a title shot this weekend. The asterisk to both sides of that is when she is on, Juliana Pena is absolutely one of the most dangerous ladies in the UFC. I absolutely agree with that. But we haven't seen that in literally almost 3 years. The opposite side of that coin, Jermaine Durandamy, like I just said, gave Amanda Nunes the most trouble on the feet we have seen. And Amanda Nunes is arguably the female GOAT and had problems on the feet with Jermaine Durandamy. Problem is, Juliana Pena, much like Amanda Nunes, will take your fucking ass to the ground. She's got a black belt and she's not afraid to use it. We know for a fact that that can be a big fucking problem from GDR. Flip-flop that the other way. Pena does not have the most structured and regulated chin we have seen in the octagon for the ladies as well. And we know GDR can put a fucking shot on the money. Ask Aspen Ladd. It might not have been pretty, but it was on the fucking money. This is going to be a very interesting fight. The thing that I'm afraid of the most is that Juliana is going to be afraid to use her ground game. If she stands up and she tries to stay in the pocket with Durandamy, it's going to be a bad night for her. If she uses her fight IQ, which we know she has, this could be a very bad night for Durandamy. This could be a very much train derailing moment for Durandamy, who is still currently sitting ranked number 1 in the ladies bantamweight division. I think it's going to come down to who can pull the fucking trigger and stick with your game plan. Because if Durandamy hasn't changed her ground game and she leaves herself open, Pena's going to put her on her ass and she's going to hurt her down there. But if Pena decides that she's cocky and she's going to stand and bang, they don't call Durandamy the Iron Lady for no fucking reason. It's going to be interesting either way, but I have a funny feeling we're going to see GDR win and she's going to get a Holly Holm situation started all over again.
I mean, this fight just comes down to whose game do you believe in more. And I mean, Jermaine Durandamy, her takedown defense is not the best, but she's also not fighting the best at this point. So, I mean, she didn't look completely inept for the minority of that fight. I think I recall watching her stuff one takedown attempt.
Yeah, I think she stuffed 1 or 2.
Yeah, she stuffed 1 or 2 takedown attempts. So she's not completely inept. Pena is Pena, and is Pena's game good enough to where she can sucker GDR into opening herself up for that takedown before taking a shot or two from GDR, which usually will change a lady's game plan quickly. Yeah. Whose game do I believe in more? Jermaine Durandamy's. I believe in her striking game, and I don't think she's inept. I don't think she's as inept as Amanda Nunes made her look. And that's just because you're fighting fucking Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes would make 3/4 of the men in the UFC look fucking inadequate. So
agreed.
So I mean, you know, we take that. You gotta look at the MMA math, as TJ likes to refer. You gotta look at that MMA math. Like, okay, you're getting taken down by probably the fucking best, and it's not probably the best at this point. She's the best lady to have ever walked through the curtain in the UFC ever. I don't think there's a question that Amanda Nunes deserves all the hype that she gets. getting ragdolled around by somebody like that. I mean, it would happen. It would happen to every single one of us at the same time if we tried to take on Amanda Nunes.
Absolutely.
Like she would do like there would somehow be a 4-way takedown, and then she would proceed to just beat the piss out of us. That's what would happen. That includes you, RJ. I don't care how much training you do. Amanda Nunes would kill you. So yeah, I mean,
punch that bitch in the pussy. Shut up.
you could try. I don't
Good
think it
luck.
would. I don't think it would affect her much. And then she would just next thing you would see is that Spartan arm tattoo coming down on your face. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, whose game do I trust more at this point? GDR. So I have to give it to her. I think her striking is like the first like real shot she lands on Pena is gonna completely change Pena's opinion on how this evening's gonna turn out. So that's what my brain tells me is gonna happen.
I have nothing nice to say about Pena. I don't. I really fucking don't. However, the only nice thing I do have to say, I did say while you were away earlier, this fight, out of all the fights on the card, should probably be the main event, not the main event that is currently there. Why do you have the number 1 ranked bantamweight sitting in the People's Co-main event?
Yeah.
And the number 2 is the main event? Question mark? What the fuck? Anyhow, I don't have anything nice to say about Pena. Hasn't been relevant in over 3 years, in my opinion. Since she took the loss to Shevchenko.
Yeah, and it was a hell of a loss.
Look, okay, she won a fight in 2019. It was against Nico Montano. And guess what? That fucking soup can she beat. And not even decisively. A fucking decision. There wasn't a finish. You could have finished that.
I think Montano missed weight for that as well.
Yeah, I agree. I'll say it. The Iron Lady could have went in there and finished her. No fucking problem.
Yeah.
So nothing good to say about Pena. She hasn't been relevant in over 3 years. At least Amanda May, we can say has been relevant. She's gone up to the top, looked fucking good on the feet, and then promptly got decimated once the fucking takedowns occurred because she couldn't stuff at fucking more than 1 or 2 takedowns. Had she been able to do so, though, that would have won her the fucking title at that rate. But anyhow, we can't talk about the what ifs. We can only talk about the what happens. So in this case, I really think this should be the main event, albeit I think what's holding GDR down here is Juliana Pena. That's what stopped this from being the main event. Because you know what? Had the UFC been smart, they would not have put fucking Holly Holm up against Aldana. They would have gave it to Jermaine Man-May there. I'm just saying. Jermaine fucking much better fight, in my opinion, with that. Although we all know what this is leading up to, and I'll say it now. Holly Holm wins immediate fucking title shot because that's what the fucking UFC does with her. Because apparently she's God's gift to fucking earth. But, you know, whatever. Anyhow, I said nothing good for Pena. It's the Iron Lady all fucking day.
So the only thing is for me is if GDR can seriously give somebody like the likes of Nunes like trouble on the feet. If Pena goes in for a takedown, if she's smart enough and doesn't like get cocky and everything to go in for a takedown, GDR is gonna read that like a fucking book, and 1, stuff it, and 2, if she doesn't stuff it, she's gonna be smart and throw a 2 or 3 round like a 2 or 3 in combo, and that is when Pena just drops like a fucking bag of rocks, because that happens 9 times out of 10 when somebody gets hit going in for a takedown. Yep. I almost forgot who the fuck Pena was. Take that for your fucking, if I win this, I should get a title fight, you dumb bitch.
Right. Well, and I think that's a lot of why this fight is not the main event, is because while de Randamie is still ranked number one, and a lot of even the most recreational Fairweather fans will still know who she is because she fought Amanda recently enough to remember. Most folks who don't keep up with this as much as we do won't have a fucking clue who Juliana Pena is or why she still has a number next to her name. People like to bitch about Connor still being fucking ranked. Juliana Pena is still ranked number 4. She's had one soup can fight in 3 fucking years. Tell me again about how deep the women's side of the UFC is. That being said, though, that will bring us to probably one of the most uninteresting co-main events we may have ever been forced to watch in the UFC in recent years. To be fair, both of these gentlemen have what we like to refer to as a puncher's chance to make this very interesting. Both Yorgan De Castro and Carlos Felipe have both got the potential for one-shot knockouts. Do they have the ability to do so when the chips are down, when you're the co-main event, when everyone is paying attention? It's going to be a tough call. It's a weird time, like TJ said, when we've got the number 1 and number 4 sitting in the people's co-main event, and then unranked soup cans as the co-main event, and the number 2 versus the number 6 for the main. The whole structure of this 4-fight card is very strange, and this is just proof in the pudding. I will say this. I think despite them both being unranked soup cans, there is just the smallest margin of more potential, in my opinion, in Yorgan De Castro's corner than there is in Carlos Felipe's corner, but it's ever so fucking small of a margin. I think he can get it done, but I think this is going to be a very, very boring fight. I don't think that either one of them really has the experience or the technical prowess to make this exciting. Like I said, there is always the puncher's chance, but I think it's just that. I think this is going to be a very, very boring intro to a very boring main event that we'll talk more about, unfortunately, in a minute.
Skip button, it's all yours. I'm not talking about this fight because I don't give 2 flying fucks about this fight.
Well, I think this is Yorgan De Castro getting one back from taking the fight with Voldemort.
Right.
I think this is him basically getting handed a W back, because the last time we saw him fight a guy like Carlos Felipe, the last time we saw him fight somebody like this, he knocked him the fuck out pretty brutally. So I mean, I think this is just Yorgan De Castro getting one back. I don't think there's a whole lot to say about this, except for watch for some leg kicks early, and then this is probably a first round knockout. De Castro's shown he can set it up with those leg kicks before, so we'll see if he's able to do that again. But I think this is just a freebie for Yorgan De Castro. So that's all I got.
What Philippe has had one fight in the UFC? 20 fights.
I don't think he's had any, has he?
I remember his name before.
De Castro's had 2.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he fought Sergey Spivak.
And
Say
again,
the preliminary, yeah.
He's had one fight. He lost it. You're losing. There you go.
Understandable, but unfortunately, the problem is, no matter what you feel about that, once that's over, that leads us into arguably the worst main event we've seen in a long time in the UFC. This is exactly why I was saying that in between good fights, we generally get some low ones. this is one of those situations. We've got unranked soup cans for the co-main event and number 2 versus number 6 for the main, where we've got 1 versus 4 in the people's co-main sitting up. The long and short of this fight boils down to the UFC cannot not put Holly Holm immediately back into fucking title fights off of every win. The problem here is that Irene Aldana has been legitimately tearing her way through the ladies' side of the division. And the weird part about it is that I do genuinely believe that with a good win against a top-ranked opponent, Irene Aldana does deserve a shot. She has absolutely earned her way and has shown that she's got potential. I don't know that she's got what it takes to take that fucking belt, but compared to the ladies that she's fighting against, she's jumped her way legitimately up that ladder. The problem is, like we said, she's fighting Holly Holm, and we know for a fact that anytime Holly Holm gets a win, Dana cannot be quick enough to throw her back into another fucking title fight. We can almost guarantee no matter which one of these ladies wins, they're going to get a title shot. The only thing we can hope is that it's a good fight. Even then, I'm not 100% confident this is going to be a great fight because, as they say, it takes 2 to tango. And we have seen in the case of just as recent as Adesanya versus Romero, if one person is not willing to engage and the other person doesn't want to risk it, the fight can be boring as shit. I have a feeling this is going to be a boring as shit main event. I think because Aldana knows how important this is, I have a feeling she's going to be able to take it, but I feel like it's going to be a point decision gone to the judges because I don't think Holly is going to engage enough or put herself in risky enough positions to get finished. That being said, I do believe Aldana could absolutely finish Holly Holm, but I don't know that Holly will put herself in that position to be finished.
We do not, under any circumstances, want this fight to go to a decision.
No.
I'll say that right now. Because if it goes to decision, it means Holly Holm has worked her game. And Holly Holm's game is stalling the fuck out of every opponent that she faces. And it's so frustrating to watch Holly Holm's fights, but she's really fucking good at what she does. And
that she is.
It's like watching Floyd Mayweather fight. I fucking hate Floyd Mayweather. I hate watching his fights. But you know, when he works his game, nobody can fucking stop him. And it's so fucking frustrating to watch Holly Holm fight because you're like, please somebody do something to her to stop her. But she's so good at keeping herself out of danger, and she's so good at getting her opponent against the fucking fence or on the fucking ground and just riding it the fuck out and winning on control time and decision. It's fucking frustrating. I hate watching it. Aldana's my pick. I want her to finish her. I want her to finish Holly Holm. Do I realistically think that Holly Holm will put herself in a position where she will get finished? Probably not, because she's too fucking good. But I'm picking Aldana against what my brain tells me is Holly Holm somehow stalling her out again and somehow winding back up another fucking title fight. I don't stop putting her in fucking title fights. Just because she wins something doesn't mean she needs to go back in the ring with the champ. Fuck you, Holly Holm. I hate you.
Seconded.
I don't know why I'm talking about this fight either. I really don't. The most exciting fight on the fucking card for me, there isn't one. This literally, kids, set your little timers for 5 minutes. Take 5-minute naps during this. Then wake up every 5 minutes to see how they're scoring the rounds or what the fucking commentators are saying about the fight so far. That's about all you need to know about this fight. To be honest, I'm not a fan of Irene Aldana. I think she's a boring fucking fighter myself. She's done all right for what she's done. I honestly don't think a win over Holly Holm should grant her a shot at the title. I don't think she's fucking worth it. To be honest, like I said, they have this fucked up. If Irene Aldana wants a fucking shot at the title, she needs to go through the Iron Lady first. Period. That's my thought. Holly Holm, the only reason she's in this position, I'll say it. Oh my God, we're gonna go all the way back to the head kick heard around the world. So what? You have the most reused fucking highlight in all of women's MMA. Because you knocked out Ronda Rousey and exposed a hole everybody knew was there. It was just nobody figured out how to do yet. And it promptly fucking lose it. So you were the champ for all of 2 seconds. So fucking what? Just because you beat a former champ who gets over fucking just way too many shots at titles for shit she hasn't earned doesn't make you the next round of the title challenge because that's what Dana White likes to think. But I don't think she's ready. I think she goes in there, fucking one punch, gets knocked out by the fucking current champ. That's all she fucking wrote. But you know what? I'll give you credit where credit's due. You've made her run. Good job. Nothing exciting, nothing to write home about. I definitely wouldn't bet my fucking dog on you or food for my dog on you. Shit, I wouldn't even bet food for the fucking bums living under the bridge for you. You're just not worth my time. Neither is Holly Holm. Look, Holly Holm, I'm glad you knocked off fucking Ronda Rousey because it needed to be done. But after that, you can curl up in a hole somewhere else too, because you know what? At this point, you are no more, in my opinion, than just a fucking curtain standing there between the opportunity that arises for good bantamweight fighters that should not have to fight you. You haven't done anything special in fucking ages to show that you're worth another title shot, but we know you're going to get it because I have this strange feeling she's going to do a great job like she always does, and credit where fucking credit is due. She's fucking fantastic defensive fighter. She really is. I mean, that's what kept the fight on the feet with fucking Rousey and earned her the fucking head kick knockout. Donna's not ready for that. Like, Donna is not a new breed of fighter. It's not going to be a good night for her. I think Holly Holm gets it, and it's going to be a boring ass fight. It's going to be a snooze fest. Like, I might check in once at the beginning of the first round to see who throws the first punch. Then I'll check in back at the end of the 5th round to see who gets their fucking hand raised, and that's it. Everything in between isn't going to mean dick. Prove me fucking wrong.
So I've never actually looked at Holly Holm's like UFC profile until quite literally just today. Why is her name the preacher's daughter? Like, that just makes me think she only takes it up the ass.
That's her nickname.
Why?
We like to call that God's loophole.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
So, I would much rather not have Holly Holm win this, but she's gonna win it. I don't like Holly Holm. Sort of how TJ was going off the she's only done one good thing. That's the Ronda Rousey kick heard around the world. That's her bread and butter. I don't like Holly Holm. Aldana's decent for she's not bad. She can be a little bit better, but time and everything will kind of iron out a bunch of shit on her end. She's not horrible. I like her more than I like Holm. I don't like Holly Holm, but she's gonna win because this is how it fucking goes. I really want to know why her name is the preacher's daughter, though. That so many questions.
If I'm not mistaken, her father is actually a preacher. That's why.
I was gonna say I think her dad actually is a legitimate preacher.
Yeah.
Or is it just
Reverend.
anal?
I mean, there's nothing to say it's not both.
Fair enough. Maybe there's a reason why she's a fighter. You know what? That all makes sense now. Yes, it's both. It's got to be both. This reason. You can't be a professional fighter that long, go out and have your fun on the weekends and get pregnant. But if you're taking it up the butt, you can never get pregnant.
Lordly loophole.
I'm just saying, flip her over and play in the mud.
If you've seen her dance moves, it would explain a lot.
True.
I just had,
scary as that is.
I had to bring like just a little bit of light to like the dark doom and gloom that is this episode tonight.
Yeah, and that's why I said this episode, like this card is not the most exciting. This does not have the biggest name fights on it. There's always still some potential, but not a lot. But that being said, that's all we've got for this particular episode here. So before we get on out of here, I would like to give these wonderful gentlemen, who I am extremely grateful for their time, a chance to let you fine folks know where you might be able to get a hold of them if you would like to if you would like to continue the conversation once we end the show. So first and foremost, if someone wants to know the best place in Ohio for a baby-faced motherfucker to start talking shit and set themselves up for an interim new guy title run, how would they get a hold of you, RJ?
You get a hold of me over there on Instagram at RJMMA Official. Come talk to me on how I could make a better second round fight for Fight Island, than Dana White can, and everybody that makes millions of dollars every fucking weekend. Yeah, come talk to me about that, because Dana White, you fucking suck dick this week.
Thank you for your time, sir. Much appreciated. That being said, if someone would like to sign themselves up to try and knock RJ out of the way and get themselves a shot at the coveted purple strap, the interim new guy title held by the freshest man that could possibly hold such a strap, how could they get a hold of you after the show, Mr. Fresh03?
You can find me at youtube.com/Fresh03 if you smell what Fresh03 is mixing.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. Very much appreciated. Now, at this point, I think folks should be familiar, but if they're not, how could someone go about getting themselves some directions to have an apple cider with the Kenosha Crippler, Mr. Golf T Vapes?
Well, they can give me a much more interesting fucking card than they did this week, for one. Any Tom, Dick, or Harry can pull that off.
It doesn't matter what their names are.
Fair enough. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Wednesday nights, right here on the YouTube's 9:30 Central Times. You can find me on the Instagram. Shoot me a message. I'm glad to talk shit with you or tell you why this fucking card is garbage. Yeah. But, at least we get to see two grandparents fight. I mean, this is our chance to see literally Blue back at it again after his passing from the great wrestling debacle of old school,
Shit. Oh, well, either way, thank you very much for your time, sir. Much appreciated.
You're my boy, Blue.
That being said, boys and girls, we are going to call that all for this particular episode. Thank you very much for everyone who tuned in with us live. Thank you to everyone who catches this on a replay. Thank you to everyone who listens to this on the all audio version released a week after it is uploaded live to YouTube. I appreciate each and every one of you, whether you stop by, you drop a like, you give us a thumbs down, you tell us that we're just fucking dumbasses. I appreciate everybody who comes by and takes the time. So that being said, if you do appreciate what we do around here, give us a thumbs up. If you really like it, subscribe and turn that bell on so you don't miss an episode. We try and do this every week. If you really appreciate what we do, share an episode of the show. We're trying to grow this damn thing. The opposite side of that coin, if we're just a couple of dumbasses talking out the side of our fucking neck, not knowing what we're actually speaking about, give us a thumbs down because we earned it and we won't dispute it. that being said, we are going to go ahead and get the hell out of here for the evening. So remember, till next time, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything, unless you think that stand by and stand back is denouncing something.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.